Why do people keep saying Jesus is coming back? They've been saying that for over 2,000 years and he's still not here.
Yes, soon. Not 2,000 years, not 2,500 years. Soon, swiftly, quickly.
Well, if you didn't know, the very last chapter of the last book of the Bible is actually titled Jesus is Coming Back Soon. Yes, some people said he was coming back many years ago, but they weren't taking into consideration what he tells us in Matthew chapter 24, verse 34. He says, "Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled."
Yes, the generation of people that Jesus was talking to in Matthew chapter 24, those people, that audience of people, not me, not you, the generation of people in front of his face would not pass away until everything that he talked about was fulfilled.
The things he's talking about are many events and signs that have to take place. The disciples themselves even went as far as to ask what those signs would be. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 3, it says, "Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?" The end of the world meaning the end of this wicked world.
So in Matthew chapter 24, the disciples and Jesus, they're standing in front of the Jewish temple. They're looking at the temple because the temple looks amazing. And Jesus says, "You see these things, do you not? There won't be left here one stone left one upon another." So Jesus tells them, hey, the Jewish temple that we're standing in front of is going to be destroyed. The disciples say, when is this going to happen? What will be the sign you're coming? And what will be the sign of the end of the age? They ask him 3 questions. The first question they ask is, when is this going to happen? That makes a lot of sense. The second question they ask is, what will be the sign of your coming? A lot of people think that that question means, when will you come back on clouds? They cannot be asking Jesus, when will he come back? Because Jesus has not gone anywhere yet. In Matthew chapter 24, Jesus is standing right in front of them. He hasn't left anywhere. So what they are asking is this. In Judaism, if you want to make a covenant, you have to make a temple. No temple, no covenant. So if the Jewish temple that they were standing in front of was destroyed, then that means they need to make a new temple so they can make a new covenant. If you don't have a temple, you don't have a priesthood. If you don't have a priesthood, you don't have anybody to make sacrifices on behalf of the Jewish people. If you don't have anybody to make sacrifices because you don't have a temple, then the old covenant that is connected to the temple is obsolete. No temple, no covenant. So the disciples understand this. And so what they are asking Jesus is, if the Jewish temple is going to be destroyed, when is your temple going to come, Jesus? Because the Messiah was supposed to come with a messianic temple and a kingdom. So that is what they're asking Jesus. If the Jewish temple that we're standing in front of is going to be destroyed, when is your temple going to come, Messiah? The last question they ask Jesus is, and tell us what will be the sign of the end of the age? The age of what? When will we be out of the age of Moses? And when will we be in the messianic age? Because the Jews were waiting to go from the age of Moses into the age of Messiah. That's why in the book of John, it says, the law came through Moses, but grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. So the sign that they were no longer in the old age and they were finally in the messianic age was that the Jewish temple that they were standing in front of was going to fall. And when the Jewish temple fell down to the ground, that is when they would be waiting for. That is when they would be awaiting the real temple, the temple that came from heaven. The physical Jewish temple that they were standing in front of had to fall to the ground so that the real temple, the heavenly temple, could come down from heaven and tabernacle inside of men. They already had a physical covenant and a physical temple. So what the last days was about the destruction of their old temple and their old temple system, which made up the old covenant. When the old temple fell, the old covenant fell. And when the new temple came, that is when Jesus came. The second coming of Jesus is about Jesus's kingdom. And when Jesus's kingdom came, that is when Jesus came. When the second temple fell, that is when Jesus's kingdom would come. But the kingdom that Jesus came with, the kingdom that Jesus talked about, was not a physical kingdom. This was going to be a spiritual kingdom. So when the physical Jewish temple fell, that is when the spiritual temple, the spiritual kingdom, came down from heaven and tabernacled inside of men. And that has already happened. In 70 AD, the Jewish temple that Jesus and his disciples were standing in front of fell in that generation, in that audience of people that Jesus was talking to, exactly like he said it would. And when the physical Jewish temple fell in 70 AD, they saw, the Greek word is harao, they perceived, they understood that the reason why the Jewish temple was being destroyed by the Romans was because of Jesus's doing. So when these things happened, they understood that this was because of Jesus. So Jesus came because his kingdom came. And when Jesus' kingdom came, it was a spiritual kingdom, and the Jews understood that this was by Jesus' doing.
Get the book in my bio.